Welcome to Toot Your Own Horn. Today we have the one and only Benny Romero. Welcome to Toot Your Own Horn.
How you doing?
I'm great. I'm so happy to have you, Benny. I have known you for what feels like forever and at the same time like a minute.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely been an amazing I think we're coming out of a 5 year anniversary right now. So it's definitely been a nice ride.
It has for sure. And we're here today for you to tell us your story about how you chose the instrument you play.
Oh man. That was something. Just like every other school, you jumping in the middle school or even in my side of town, they start it in fifth grade. They'll do an instrument petting zoo and like here are all the instruments. They'll bring out people to have them try them out and such like that. And you try to make some sounds and see what happens. And if you have any influences to any of them, you kind of like gravitate towards those. I was so confused. I had just moved into the state and they didn't do this stuff until seventh grade.
Oh
So
my
I thought I
God.
had more time. So here I was on like week two, and they're like, "Hey, we're doing this." And I'm like, "Oh, hey mom, can I go?" So we did that. I tried literally everything, and I was just so like overwhelmed by it all. And they had a helper from from like a local college, and he was in the corner just playing excerpts, and I was like, man, that sounds really cool. I don't think I hear anything else, but that sounds cool. So let's sit on that one for a little bit. The director was a little on the old school side, and he was huge on theory. So he had us do he introduced the instruments, and then we had 2 weeks of theory, and then we had a test.
Oh,
And then it was, hey, however you scored in that test is where you ended up. And I was like, what? Okay, so if you scored 100, you could play whatever instrument you wanted.
oh,
And then it just went down from there. And
oh.
I sat in a nice little middle range. Bass clef has never been my friend, so I missed most of those questions. And I, as soon as that little box got checked, I was like, "Oh, clarinet's right there. That's what that guy was playing. I'm gonna do that." I picked it up, and I just never stopped. It gave me something that was mine. I always had to share things in the house, and like nobody else knew what it was, so it was mine, and I loved it. So that's how I got there.
Did you rent it?
Unfortunately, I could not. That wasn't in the cards financially. So my mom had reached out to like my uncles and stuff like that, and we had I got a I got a plastic Bundy from a pawn shop. I didn't care where it was from. It was mine. It still had it had a little shine to it, and I was like, nope, that's me. That's what I'm gonna do today. That's what I'm gonna do from here on out.
Wow. So no one in your family was musical.
No, not a single person. The last I had asked, it was like 2 generations ago. So my grandparents didn't, my parents didn't play, my grandparents didn't play, but their parents did. My great grandparents were percussionists and pianists, but like more salsa, jazz, and stuff like that. So nothing classical. So when I decided to do this, they were like, "Where'd you get that from?" It's like I saw a guy at school, mom. He was cool. But we got I don't know about seventh grade, and my instrument needed repairing, and it was hard to find somebody to do that, and the cost was just crazy. So my band director, to help me out, flipped me over to a school instrument, and I ended up on bass clarinet.
Oh.
And then the love just got that much bigger for that whole family, and I never looked back. I haven't been on bass clarinet for, I don't know, 18, 19 years now. I've never turned back.
Wow.
So
So your family found you something because they supported you, and then the band director sounds like he was a big influence.
yeah, he's great. He's actually still around, which is awesome. And every now and then we'll end up at the same schools doing sectionals and master class type things for the local schools now. It's nice. And I thank him every time I see him. It's like, hey man, if honestly had he not done what he had done, I probably would have been out because I couldn't afford it. And that mentality, that band director, what he did for me there, it transferred onto the next school. And that the high school band director, same thing. He was all about trying to make music accessible, and whatever walk you were going down, he was going to help you do it. It's a pretty nice community over here. So
So when you kept playing in high school and you got on bass clarinet, what was it that made it really sticky after that? Like, how did you decide it was something you were going to keep going in?
It was the only thing that I was genuinely happy doing, and that it didn't hurt because I did sports too, and those hurt. So, being able to just like go into a practice room or, kick my little brother out of the room and just practice and just play stuff, or, hearing some stuff on the radio or on a cassette or CD and just like trying to mimic that. Like it just, it just, the curiosity has always been there. And I mean, here I am about to have my 39th birthday, and it's still there. And it just keeps giving. I grew up liking to tinker, fixing stuff around the house and stuff like that. And high school with marching band, man, we put some stuff on our instruments, like we a lot of toll and strain and such. And sometimes you have to get creative. Like you don't have time to get to a shop real quick and it's like, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna use some dental floss for a tenon cork and just like keep going. I'm like, no, but we got to figure that out. And I thought, because of, hey, maybe there's not a lot of techs around here. I was like, maybe I should go to school for this. Like I like to work with my hands, and I love the instrument. If I can put the two of those together, maybe I should do that. But it was really hard to find a place to do that locally.
What was
Um,
your major?
I went for music education because I thought I would find a way to get into the instrument repair field. I don't know. It was probably about this time, about January, February of my senior year. I knew it. I was like, you know what? I want to go to school for like instrument repair and construction. Like I want to build the things. I want to make them work. I want to help, the kids that are like me growing up that don't have all those resources, help those families that don't have all the dollars to make it all work, and give somebody an opportunity, just like my directors had done for me. Unfortunately, with my home circumstances, I needed to stay close to home, and there wasn't anything in Florida for me to do. So I took a music ed scholarship, rode that wave, and helped support the house with my mom and my brothers, and yeah, 19-year-old me did not think standing in front of a classroom all day was going to be where I wanted to go. Ask me that now, whole different ball game. Back then, I got around. I played in this group. I played in that group, just making connections and building a network, and eventually had fallen into the industry.
Industry likes people with ed degrees.
Right. Yeah, it was huge. It was definitely a big plus. Being able to speak the lingo opened a lot of doors, and I would have never thought of that. As a younger student, a little over 10 years ago, I met a gentleman by the name of Bruce Marking, who is one of the most influential clarinet repairmen or woodwind repairmen in the industry. And I had worked alongside him at conventions and certain colleges and stuff like that, and events. And I had always talked to him. I was like, hey man, you're the guy I want to be when I get older. Like this, you're doing it, you're living my dream, and I want to get there. And he says, it's possible. There are ways to get it. And every time I talked to him, he
Yeah.
had a nice little nugget of information for me. And come 2020, he told me keep my ear to the ground. I can't say nothing, but keep my ear to the ground. And he's like, I'll let you know. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then I got introduced to you, and things have been so much better ever since. Um,
Yeah, that was
so
fun. So fun that you were
yeah,
part of our very first class for the wood repair training.
yeah, that was
Great.
cool. That was a lot of fun. I like to think I knew what to expect, but then I didn't. And it was, hey, guess what? We're gonna take apart your clarinet. He's like, who's we? You're not gonna do it for me? Oh, I'm gonna do that. Okay, okay, all right. You're gonna watch me, right? You're gonna help me put it back together if I okay. Yeah, so it was definitely something. And my classmates, they were just to be on the same page with all of them. And we had, I know the intent was to create this this network, this ecosystem of support and such like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, those are like my brothers and sisters. I mean, we talk all the time. I mean, there's group chats left and right. And hey, man, what are you doing? What are you up to? How have you done? And I was like, man, you got to see this repair, their stories, and their, the like-minded individuals doing doing what they can to service their area. I'll honestly say within a 20-mile radius, there are like 3 repair techs. Like that's including me. So, and there are a
Right,
ton of schools. There's a
right.
ton of schools. And like for me personally, like that's my focus is helping the schools because they get almost little to no funding as it is anyway. And you get young, passionate students, like myself, that want this to happen. And then you have the educators who are like, no, they were that student and this is what they want to do. And they want to share their love of the arts with their students and, and bring them to that next level and keep that excitement and growth uh, coming. And, they can't do it without support from a bench, you know, just like your cars every day, you get your oil change, you get your brake pads done, get your AC fleshed out and stuff like that. Same thing with your instruments. You got to get your pads redone, get the corks done, oils cleaned. It's all the same. It's just regular routine maintenance. It's nothing that anyone's doing maliciously to the instruments, but it's natural wear and tear. And it's
And let's talk for a minute about
yeah,
Florida, because Florida unfortunately has cut all of its arts funding. And it means that the schools are extremely deprived of any
yeah.
resources that they need to be able to function. And so that means that art in general is really struggling in the state.
Absolutely. It's definitely tough. I'm tied to a couple counties as far as public and private schools and such, and just hearing the chatter and hearing their concerns and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm tied to a music, art, and dance center. It's fine arts center through and through. And even here, we're starting to feel some of that, and it stinks. But with the cutting of the funding and stuff like that, obviously the first thing attached to that is us as fine arts people, but there's still so much of us that are going to that are here for that fight,
Mhm.
and we're going to make it happen. We're going to do the thing, but it's got to be a united front, and it's the only way it's going to work out. Us helping them helping us. We're in a creative industry, and having that creative mind means that we'll find the solution. It might take a minute, but we're not going to stop until it's done because that's how we're wired, and we need it, and we all know we need it.
Have such an interesting background because a lot of people I think that would have been in your position would have felt like outcasts or outsiders because they weren't following the traditional I'm going to teach or I'm going to be a performance major. And you just so casually said that you just found the connections in industry and just kind of slid into it. But can you speak to that for a minute about was that just something that, because you have a very exploratory, curious mind. And
Yeah.
I would love to like have you talk a little bit about how that just kind of quote happened.
After high school, I took a music ed scholarship, ran that train for a while. I got pretty sick, didn't quite finish up my degree. It was pretty close. Got healthy, got work. I had to get into the workplace, tried to get back in, and just scheduling just didn't line up. But I never stopped playing. I had to dial back quite a bit from where I was at. So I got to the point where I was just playing at church and community groups. I got into the automotive industry, which
Mhm.
was just totally weird. Made some connections there, and then a friend of mine who we graduated from high school. He's like the older brother I didn't have. Mentioned that there was a job opening at a local music store, a nationwide company, and I at the time was looking for something with more stable hours.
Mhm.
I started working for this music company, and everything just came back. The stress that I was having from all the other jobs, everything just went away. I was surrounded by music and instruments everywhere. And yeah, it's a sales job, but I didn't feel like a sales person.
Mhm.
I'm sitting there giving information to the families, to the parents, to the students, and being involved with them and watching these what I like to call light bulb moments for these students.
Mhm.
And like that was it. That's what I like. So being with them, they had school services, they had a repair shop and such. I moved up the ladder really quickly, just with my natural just drive and personality, and I ended up in the school services realm. And school services works heavily with the repair shop because we're trying to help the
Mhm.
teachers. So during like winter breaks and like spring breaks, the summer break and stuff like that, where I don't have any schools to visit,
Mhm.
I'd spend time in the repair shop
Oh,
giving them help. And I'm like, hey, what can I do to help? You're paying me either way. Like, let me earn a paycheck here. Like I'm not one to sit down, and I like to know the ins and outs of things. And the easiest thing at the time was learning to clean brass instruments. So I was taking apart trumpets and tubas and dunking them in a tank and doing all this stuff. And they would show me how to do minor things,
Mhm.
and it made me that much more well rounded. So I would go to these schools, and they'd be like, "Hey, I can you take this instrument?" I was like, "What's going on with it?" And it's like a tennis cork fell off. I'm like, "Oh, well, I got a go bag. I can totally do that. Like I learned how to do that." And just the repair shop was cool with it. They say, "Hey, we don't need to charge them for that. Like they let them bring the big stuff in." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Okay, cool." Or like with your clarinets, your crow's foot being out of adjustment, your bridge and stuff like that. They would show me simple things like that, and I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll help you." And like in the sales industry, like it's always numbers, 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 numbers. But this community, like they knew, like, hey, we can't just treat them as numbers. We can't. We don't. They don't deserve it. We can't do that. It's just not right. The only way this goes rounds if we help them when they need it. Obviously there are some things that are going to cost, but let those come up. But these little ones that we can control, let's do it. And it was great. So doing that with the school services and stuff like that, I became a face. And that was it. It's like Mr. Benny came to town. It's like, hey, Mr. Benny's coming on Tuesday, or he's coming Friday. So when this came up, uh, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this on the side, and this is gonna be great. This is gonna be a nice thing for me to do. This is where I have my zen. Like I'm not playing as aggressively anymore. I'm like, but at this, I can sit at a bench. The instrument's not gonna yell at me. I'm gonna just do the thing. And then COVID happened, and before I knew it, I was a free agent, and I had already registered for these repair courses through Lisa's clarinet shop, and it literally like kept me sane. And I started my own thing, and Benny Romero partnered with another small mom and pop shop, and like I kind of do my own thing here, and I help in helping
You-
grow their part of the business,
Yeah.
but also grow my thing. And with all the connections that I had made, like even going back to high school, those directors, the middle school director and high school director I have, like they're clients now. and and it's nice to talk to them like human beings and not like a number. And they respect that so much. There's no need to be a car salesman at all when it comes to music. Talk to them, listen to them, give them what they need.
It's an
And
education job. I've always preached that.
absolutely.
It's like 95% of selling in the music industry is teaching people, having a deep knowledge of products and of
Yes.
services and being able to not bend the truth, but find everything out they need and help them understand how it fits together for them. And then just asking them if they want to buy it. It's not that
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it's literally that simple. To send it any more perfectly. Like that's honestly how it's done. And I've made a pretty decent living with not having to deal with the corporate ceiling, and just be a good person. Share your knowledge, and just help where you can. I'm not your sales guy. I'm gonna be your friend. But I'm gonna be your friend that takes your money every now and then. But you're gonna thank me for it.
Right,
And I'm not gonna be a jerk about it. And it's not gonna
right.
be every day, but hey, one day you're gonna need something, and you're gonna go to the guy that remembered, hey, I had a nice pair of shoes on the day, and he complimented me. Like, like just being a good human. Like he's gonna ask about, the significant other or the children or the dog or the cat. We need more positivity. We need more caring. And caring goes so far. You know, caring for one another, caring for your instruments, just overall just being nice and round.
Yeah.
The sharp edges don't get everywhere. They cut through things, and that's a little abrasive.
Mhm.
But guess what? A pizza cutter's round too. You know.
That's really a good analogy. And
So
it's a really good analogy. And the
yeah,
thing that amazes me is in the mom and pop shop that you've worked for, you've grown it tremendously during a period of time in our industry when everything was going the wrong direction. And so it just goes to show you how hungry society really is for positivity and for pizza.
yeah. It's like I say, it's just another thing that makes you go around. It makes you whole.
If somebody was listening to this podcast and just was really excited about hearing your story, what would you tell them to pick up a wind instrument right now?
Do it. What do you got to lose? You know, do the thing. Nothing can go wrong. Like the wrong that you will feel is by not doing it. You never know until you give it a go. Have
Touches a
fun.
part of you that you'll never understand unless you try.
Right. Right.
There's always that wall. They always talk about in acting, that third wall. That third wall is there when you just remain an audience member instead of becoming a participant in the experience.
Yeah. Like we have students that come in here, families, you know, that it's mostly the parents that are signing up the students, and we talk to them, and you know, we make them feel at home. We have a very homey vibe here, and man, at least once a week, we'll have a new family coming in, and I always like to ask a question: did you ever play an instrument? And they'll say no. I wish I did. I was like, what's stopping you? Oh well, I couldn't do it back then. I was like, that was back then. What's now? It's like, well, we're here for her. I'm like, cool. Well, I'll set you up. I'll set you up at the same time. You guys can do it at the same time. You can do it across the hall. You're not gonna be doing nothing for the next half hour, 45 minutes. Want to do something? It's free to try out. Trying is always free.
Do you get parents to do it?
Absolutely.
Do you?
And yeah, and it's great. They'll come out and like I've got one family, and I absolutely love them to death. So I get three sons, and then the mother and the father. And mom actually bought a clarinet from us,
Mhm.
which was great. It was a couple months ago, and now she used to play clarinet back in the day, way back when, and now she's getting back into it. She loves it. She got a silver R13 from you. Absolutely loves it. She came in and wanted to do cello. She's like, I always wanted to do cello. Can I
Mhm.
do that? I'm like, do you want to do that? She's like, yeah, kind of. I was like, cool. I go pull out a cello. And then I put her in a trial lesson, free trial lesson, hand her an instrument. And what's she doing now? She's taking hour-long cello lessons as a therapy to herself. Like this is her unwind. She comes without the kids. Everybody else comes on like the same day. She comes on a completely separate day, takes an hour-long lessons, and it's like therapy. Like her, she walks in stressed, she walks out, and she's just cool, calm, and collected. She's like,
Wow.
I do this with the clarinet too, but I knew that. This is different. And I was like, cool. She's like, would have you done it? Would you have done it if I didn't say I can make that happen real quick? She's like, no, I wouldn't have thought about it. I'm like, why? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of yourself. Don't get in your own way. Try the thing. There's resources everywhere. Try it.